Hello students, this is Azan Mirza. We are discussing the two types of immune responses which occur in our body, where the B lymphocytes are involved and the T lymphocytes are involved, primarily the humoral immune response and the cell mediated immune response. So B lymphocytes are the cells which are produced in the bone marrow. You can see this bone marrow cell, this is the B lymphocyte, it is still immature. It divides to form immature B cells. The immature B cells undergo maturation, and while they are still in bone marrow, for example, let's consider this one cell. When it starts to mature up, it will end up having antibody receptors on its surface, and these antibody receptor will be complementary to an antigen which they can encounter, and this antigen will be the one which will be a non-self antigen against which they can evoke an immune response. This one B cell, you can see here, this is the one which is matured up. It will have these antibody receptors. We started our discussion from these four B lymphocytes. So you can see that once they all have matured up, they all will have a different antibody receptors on your surface. So this B lymphocyte will be able to find out an antigen which is complementary to this structure, to this antibody, you can say complementary to this structure of the antibody. This B cell would find an antigen which is complementary to this kind of antibody molecule, and you can see that each B lymphocyte is actually having its own antibody receptor which is capable of finding out the antigen or coming across an antigen which it would respond to. So this is how your B lymphocytes are functioning. So when we are discussing the functioning of the B lymphocytes, how do B lymphocytes function? This is how your B lymphocytes, these are multiple B lymphocytes here, and this is a pathogen which comes here. Its antigens are there on the surface, or you have multiple B lymphocytes. So the one which is having receptors complementary to the antigens on the surface of this pathogen, this B lymphocyte will divide. When it starts to divide, we call this is clonal selection, mitosis of a specific B lymphocyte. Once clonal selection has occurred, what will happen? Clonal expansion will be followed, and when clonal expansion occurs, these cells will turn into plasma cells and memory cells. And when plasma cells, these B lymphocytes, they will differentiate into either the memory cells and the plasma cells. These are the plasma cells and these are the memory cells. And when they are differentiating into the plasma cells, or when they are differentiating into the memory cells, this entire cascade of events, or these sequence of events, need the help from T helper cells in the form of cytokines. So cytokines are certain chemicals which are required for this kind of you can say differentiation of the cell, where memory cells and plasma cells are produced from the selected B lymphocyte whose complementary antigen is now present inside the body. Now what will happen? These plasma cells, they have these plasma cells are highly mature. You can see that they do not have the antibody receptors anymore on their surface. Why? Because they are constantly secreting the antibodies at a very fast rate. They secrete antibody, which is one type of antibody, at 1,000 antibody molecules per second, and this is the primary immune response. All these antibody molecules, they will float in your body fluids, be it your tears, be it your blood. So these antibodies will be present there. They will go in and the tissue fluid, obviously the lymph as well. So these antibody molecules, they will go and they will find out the antigen wherever it is, and they would attach to those antigens, and using their constant region, they will just then go on and attach to the neutrophil, and the neutrophil will phagocytize this antigen and antibody complex together, so the pathogen will be cleared from the body. This whole is the primary immune response, and you can see that the memory cells were also formed here. These memory cells which were formed here, these memory cells are the basis of the immunological memory. Second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, any subsequent time, if the same pathogen enters the body once again, this whole cascade of events will not be repeated. Why? Because this has occurred once. You already have the memory cells here. So memory cells are here. The memory cell will recognize the pathogen right away because they have seen the antigen before and they are already present in your blood. So these memory cells, they will quickly divide to form more memory cells of their own kind, and they will again form plasma cells. You can see that the quantity of plasma cell this time will be more, and these plasma cells will again start to secrete antibodies. And this event, which I have just highlighted orange, this is the secondary immune response. It is way more quick. It is way more you can say it occurs in a very short time and a very short span of time. And in the secondary immune response, a person will not fall sick, and even if the person falls sick, the signs and symptoms of the disease will be very mild. This is the infection where we actually get sick, and we get the signs and symptoms of a disease. So this immune response that we have just covered is called as the humoral immune response, where the antibodies are involved, and these are the ones which are floating in the blood, in the tissue fluid, and in the body fluid. This graph here shows to you how on the first invasion of the antigen there is no antibody which is complementary to the antigen present in the body fluids, but then gradually it starts to decrease, and you can see that about 15 days or any day around like 14 days, the antibody titer goes very high. This is the primary immune response. The pathogen gets cleared and the antibody count starts to decline. The second invasion of an identical antigen or the same antigen comes again, or a similar antigen. So antibodies were, since the memory cell was there, so the memory cell will quickly divide to form more memory cells and plasma cells. The plasma cell will quickly start to produce antibodies, and in a very short span of time, these antibody will start to be like increase at a very high rate, and you can see that the same clonal expansion occurred, and these memory cells, since they were there, so they ended up producing plasma cells. So antibody titer got increased very quickly, and the pathogen got marked and got identified by the neutrophil. Phagocytosis proceeded, and pathogen cleared up with mild to no illness. So this is the primary immune response and the secondary immune response. This is the structure of an antibody. The structure of an antibody it includes these structures. And when we are discussing an antibody basically is also called as an immunoglobulin. When we are discussing immunoglobulins, these are glycoproteins, and when they are glycoproteins, which means they are globular proteins, they are soluble in water. They have 4 polypeptides, and the 4 polypeptide chains include 2 heavy chains and the 2 light chains, which you can see in the figure as well. These are the 2 heavy chains, the long ones, and this is the light chain and this is the light chain. These are held together by disulfide bonds. The 2 heavy chains are held together by 2 disulfide bonds. One heavy and the one light chain is held by a single disulfide bond. So the 4 polypeptides here, they are held together by a total of 4 disulfide bonds. There are sugar chain of sugar molecules here, and there's a hinge region present between the 2 heavy chains, and this is the variable region. The variable region is the one which is different in the 2 antibodies. One are capable of identifying one antigen, the other capable of identifying the other antigen, and this yellow part is the constant region of the antibody. So the antigen binding site, this is the antigen binding site, this is the same antigen binding site, this the other you can say the side of the same antigen binding site. So there are 2 antigen binding sites, one on this side and one on this side. As I discussed previously, that this shape is the letter Y, and there are 2 antigen binding sites here. So one antigen can bind here, the same antigen can bind here as well. So there are just 2 antigen binding sites to give more access to the antigens so that they can be held firmly. And this is the constant region of the antibody. And when you have the constant region of the antibody, this is the part where it will go and attach to the neutrophil. And when it attaches to the neutrophil, it can get phagocytized. So you can see that the heavy chains are longer, the light chains are much shorter, and that there are short carbohydrate chains, as I've just discussed, and we have covered this part. The antigens, the binding site of the antigen, which is made up of one part of the heavy chain and one part of the light chain. So this together makes up one antigen binding site. The second antigen binding site is also similar, and it is having a variable region. That's why there are 2 antigen binding sites in every antibody. This is how the pathogen can attach. So the pathogen, this is the pathogen. It will have the antigens. The antigens are also referred to as the term of epitopes. You can also use the term epitopes. So epitopes are the point on the surface of the pathogen, the antigens to which the antibody can attach, and this is the constant region to which it will attach to the neutrophils. These are the various ways in the antibodies can function. They can go and target the virus, they can go and target the toxin, the antibodies can go and attach to the flagella, they can reduce the motility of the bacteria, they can cause agglutination. So antibody and antibody can join together, the constant regions can be held together, and both the antibodies will end up having the antigens on their opposite ends. So they end up agglutinating or clumping the pathogens together. So a large number of bacteria or the pathogen can be engulfed together, plus their mobility will be reduced. Some antibodies have this property that they can punch holes into the cells, and the bacteria cell can get burst. This is how the neutrophil is engulfing this phagocytic the phagocytic cell. The neutrophil is engulfing this antibody marked pathogen. So this is the antibody receptor. So the entire antibody antigen complex will be engulfed, and it will be cleared away. These are the toxins, and these toxins, so you have some antitoxin in your blood, and these antitoxins are also actually antibodies. Here we are discussing T lymphocyte. This is the cell-mediated immune response. In T lymphocyte, cell-mediated immune response occur, and in cell-mediated immune response, basically there are 2 type of T lymphocyte that we have to consider: the helper T cells and the killer T cells. Helper T cells are the ones which release cytokines, and the killer T cells are cytotoxic T cells. The T cells, they are produced in the bone marrow, they divide by mitosis, they migrate to the thymus, and then thymus they mature, and while maturing up they end up having a T cell receptor on their membrane. The T cell receptor will be different for each T cell, and this T cell receptor is different from the antibody receptor which is present on the B cell. The B cells have the antibody receptors on their membrane, the T cells have the T cell receptor. Both the antibody receptor and the T cell receptor present on the B cell and the T cell respectively, they are capable of identifying a particular antigen in the body, and they both are functioning in the immune system. So how the T lymphocytes are functioning? So to understand that, you have to understand what antigen, how an antigen actually evokes an immune response, and how an antigen, once the antigen has entered your body, it will go and it will penetrate into an either into a host cell or a cell of your body which will be infected, or it will go inside the monocyte. Both these cells will behave as an antigen presenting cell. And what is an antigen presenting cell? Let's suppose this is the cell that you are having. This is either the cell about to be infected or a monocyte. These are the pathogen, they have the antigens. These blue dots are the antigens on its surface. So what will happen? These cells, they gained entry into the host cell, and they start to divide and they start to multiply. So these antigens, they will be displayed on the membrane of this particular bacteria or the pathogen which entered here. This cell will have the ability to just kill up at least one or a few of these guys. Some of these pathogens will be killed, and its antigens, these blue dots, will be displayed on the surface membrane of that infected cell or the monocyte. So this monocyte or this infected cell, it becomes an antigen presenting cell. So an antigen presenting cell is doing what its name suggests. So it presents the antigen to the T cells, and the T cells are helper T cell or the killer T cells, and they can respond to it. How the helper T cells and killer T cells are functioning, this is what's happening here. So these are like 5 steps here. So this is an antigen presenting cell. The killer T cell and the helper T cell, they will with their the T cell receptor, they attach to the antigen on the surface of the antigen presenting cell. Helper T cell divide by mitosis, same clonal selection and clonal expansion occurs. And once the T helper cells have been made, you will have memory cells of the helper T cells. So helper T cells end up producing cytokines, and cytokines are the chemicals which are required to stimulate the B cells to divide to form plasma cells, and the memory cells, and you know that the plasma cell will start to produce antibodies. Once those antibodies have been produced, the rate of phagocytosis will be increased. So in turn, you can see that helper T cells are the foundation of the immune system. So if the helper T cells are releasing the cytokines, all these processes, which is the plasma cell formation and the antibody secretion and the phagocytosis, they all are actually dependent on how much cytokines are available. So helper T cells are the basis of the immune system, how well your immune system is functioning. And these are the same cell, helper T cells, which get infected in AIDS and in HIV. So the HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, it starts to live inside the helper T cell. It shuts down the functioning of the helper T cell over the span of 10 years. And once this has occurred, the immune system just collapses. You have the B cells, you have the neutrophils, you have the phagocytes, but they just don't respond because the immune system, the helper T cells, is not there, and the cytokines are not there. The other form of cells of the T cells are killer T cells. Killer T cells can also divide to form memory cells. And killer T cells, what do? They actually are designed to kill. So they will join their membrane with the infected cell, and they will just ensure that a vesicle which is present inside the killer T cell, these vesicle or this vacuole will have toxins. It would just push this vesicle into the host cell. So once this toxin goes into the host cell, which is having a lot of pathogens, this host cell will be killed altogether. So imagine this host cell which is having so many bacteria present here, and they are constantly multiplying. So eventually this cell would burst, and if it would have burst, it would just spill all the bacteria in its surrounding, and this bacteria will just go on to infect more cells in its surroundings. So to prevent this from happening, you kill the whole host cell together. When the host cell was killed by the killer T cell or the cytotoxic T cell, this cell is not in existence anymore. So once it gets killed altogether, the bacteria, the pathogens that were dividing in it will also get killed. Lastly, the production of white blood cell from the stem cell. There are two types of stem cells in the bone marrow: myeloid stem cells and the lymphoid stem cell, the one which are producing white blood cells. So the myeloid stem cells, they are producing the neutrophils and the monocytes and the platelets, whereas the lymphoid stem cell, they give rise to the lymphocytes, both B and T lymphocytes. You know, B lymphocytes stay in the bone marrow for maturation, whereas T cells go to the thymus for maturation. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.